Great. And do I just get started with the presentation?
Oh, yes, you may go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Francis Kalimlim, and I am the Transfer Admissions Counselor here at the California College of the Arts. I'll go ahead and share my screen now. Just one moment. Okay, and everyone can see this okay?
Yes,
All
we
right,
can see your shared screen.
perfect. So just like how you see here, we are a private nonprofit art institution located in San Francisco, California. We specialize in art, fine art, architecture, and design. We have an 8-to-1 student to teacher ratio with an average undergraduate student per class of about 13. That usually goes into whether it's a studio course or it's a like a lecture seminar. So usually for the studio classes, it'll be about 8 students. And even at the high at 13, it's still a really small classroom to really facilitate those small working, good working relationships with your teachers and your fellow classmates. With just a little over 1,200 undergraduate students, we are a very small and tight-knit community, which I'll get more in a little bit later. We have 22 majors here that I will break down a little bit more into what divisions that they are falling under. So again, we're a top-rated art and design school in the heart of San Francisco, California, and how we make art might surprise you. What we really look for is a really kind of breadth of conceptual, technical, and professional that gets incorporated into your education and curriculum. So not only are you going to get the conceptual and technical skills in whatever program that you find, but we're also going to have a really high stress in emphasis in the professional also. And not only that, we are also practicing a very interdisciplinary philosophy, meaning that you're not going to be limited to just your major of choice, but you're also going to be expected to take and pull from a lot of other disciplines and be able to take those classes and make your practice completely unique to your own. So we really try to cultivate your ideas, your skills, and your passions. You do start making in the studio starting on day one, right from the start. We do have a foundation here. We do have a foundation year called our first year core program, where you'll already get started making in the studio in a lot of different mediums, starting with drawing, 2D, 3D, and 4D. And then in the second year, you go start in your major. So here are all of our majors again. We have 22 in total, animation being our #1 major and graphic design being our #2 most popular. Our comics program that you see here, I'm not sure if you could see my mouse, that actually just launched last fall due to very high popular demand by our students, and then game arts launched in the fall, right in the year prior. So our student voice is also really important to us. The game arts program was born out of our animation program, and our comics was born out of our illustration program. We had enough classes for that and a lot of demand and popularity from our students. So we were like, hey, we have the faculty, let's go ahead and make that major. If you notice right here in the middle, we have something called an individualized studies major as well. So we don't really have double majors in the traditional sense. So you can't have like sculpture and then double major in animation, for example. However, even though we are very interdisciplinary, for some students, it's like, I have a very specific idea that I want to use my time at CCA to really explore and cultivate. And having that little extra elective to take whatever classes around the other majors outside of my own uh, doesn't really quite cut it. Well, I could take a class here in individualized studies, and if it sounds like the path for me where I want to incorporate, for example, graphic design, sculpture, animation, and writing and literature, and have something that I really want to do specifically that incorporates all of that, you could have a self-directed major where you'll work very closely with an academic advisor and basically create your own degree, which is really, really cool. These are undergraduate minors. So our majors could minor in illustration and vice versa, and our furniture um, students can minor in industrial design and vice versa. Those students or those programs are the only majors that could actually minor in a different, completely like a completely standalone discipline. But for everyone else, similar to having double majors, we don't really have minors in the traditional sense. These are more like supplements or emphasis to your major. So they don't add any extra time to your 4-year curriculum. They kind of fit into your schedule to kind of supplement and give your major a focus. So say, for example, you're a painting major, you could minor in either computational practices, ecological practices, history, art, and visual culture, or writing and literature. We also have a lot of STEM designated degrees as well, such as animation, graphic design, interaction design, architecture, and advanced architectural design, which is a graduate program. We're also working on expanding our other majors to become STEM designated as well, as that is, as we all know, extremely important and beneficial, especially for our international students. So going back to the first year program, every student, regardless of their major, is going to go through this foundational year, starting with drawing, 2D, 3D, and 4D. So already you're dipping your toes in a lot of different majors. Then you take your art history classes, the introduction to arts and modern arts. So going from prehistory all the way up to now. Your writing one and foundations of critical studies. This is also where you'll take at least one elective per semester so that you could take any class that you want, any other discipline, so that you could already start incorporating an interdisciplinary practice. And then at the end of the year, you'll have your first year portfolio review to already get started on some practice talking and presenting your work to a panel of artists and faculty. So a little bit of life at CCA. Again, we're a really small, tight-knit community with just a little over 1,200 undergraduate students. An 8-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, again, really helps facilitate those close working relationships. We have over 60 studios, makerspaces, labs, and media centers, all industry grade, all professional use, because 95% of our instructors are all working professionals in their field. They're going to be our first stop shop at professional resources. And because of that as well, all of our studios and equipment that you'll use are the actual equipment that industries, corporations, companies, and artists are using out in the real world right now. So that way, by the time you graduate, you'll already feel ready and equipped to be able to continue working in the workforce in whatever field that you want. We're also expanding our campus. This is something that's really exciting. It was put on pause for a little bit because of the pandemic and the lockdown, but now that we're slowly getting out of it, we have resumed our construction and we're expanding our campus. We're only getting bigger. This was actually made by a student. This is what the plan looks like to expand our campus. We also have brand new buildings. This is our Founders Hall residence building for student dorms. We do have a live on campus requirement for all of our first and second year students. That way, you don't have to worry. We are a residential campus. You don't have to worry about housing. San Francisco is super expensive. I know we're a little notorious for that. But this is something that we don't want our students to have to worry about, and that you could just hop right out of school, hop right out of bed and then go across the street to school. And because it's also a requirement for first and second year students, it's also not competitive. So if you do apply and you are admitted and you decide to enroll at CCA, you are going to be guaranteed a room. Here's another shot of the building. So again, it's just steps away from the studios and classrooms. It opened in the fall of 2020, so it's super, super convenient and brand new in terms of all of its facilities, and it's like bed and the rooms and all of that. We also have a Maker's Cafe, which is right downstairs. Everyone who's living on campus is required to be on a meal plan. We got to make sure that you eat. Um, it's actually really good. Every time I'm on campus, I'm actually gonna go there today. And I always look forward to having lunch and coffee over there. They are really spot on, and they're really accommodating to dietary needs and restrictions as well. They don't make the same food every single day. And again, because the building is new, everything in there is also brand new. And if there's anything that, you know, you kind of want made special or custom for you, they will do that. So more about student life, there are a lot of clubs and organizations that are all student run, student led, and student founded. I like to think of them as falling into one of three categories. The first one being student cultural organizations, such as Black Brilliance, Korean Students Association. We also have a Filipino American and Filipino groups. Students of Color Coalition is probably our largest student organization. Our professional and academic groups, such as the Animation Resource Center, Architecture Student Council, it's more program or major based. And finally, like a lot of the fun ones, such as the K-pop dance club that just opened up last fall, which is really cool. Still waiting on that performance. I'd really love to see that. A sustainability club, robotics club, where a group of students just kind of go into our hybrid lab and like make robots. There's also a CCA radio station, which is really cool. I listen to that sometimes. I'll say some really cool stuff, talking about like the kind of art that they're making, or any artists that they're inspired by. And if there's any clubs, and these are just scratching the surface too, by the way, if there's a really long list, and if there isn't a club there that you see, you could always join or create a new club yourself. It's actually rather easy. I think it's just like 5 students total and a faculty to just sign off. And unless it's a really kind of weird, crazy, unproductive kind of club, most likely you're going to get that. So a little bit about San Francisco, it's a really big epicenter for art. One of the main reasons why I moved to San Francisco 10 years ago is because of the way its art world functioned and looked like, as opposed to the other cities that I'm from. San Diego, I was really close to LA. I've gone to New York as well, both as an artist and just as like someone who's visiting and interested in potentially living there. And San Francisco really kind of captured my heart. And the reason for that is because of how small it is. It's actually a really small city. It's 11 kilometers by 11 kilometers, translates to about 7 miles. But it's really, really dense with food, art, culture, and because it's so small, all these like little communities are really interconnected with one another. And CCA really reflects that in our interdisciplinary practice, being able to take from other disciplines and do, and incorporate that into your own and see all these little micro communities to be a part of. It really is kind of the heart of what San Francisco's larger art scene is really about, and the larger Bay Area as well. Has a rich community, so diverse. And there's honestly, like, I'm still discovering a lot of things to do over there. It's also a really big food city, like I mentioned, one of the main reasons why I really wanted to go to SF. And there's so much to do in the Bay as well. One of the student groups is the Adventure Club, and to just kind of get away from the urban environment, nature is so close as well. As artists, we do like to kind of heal in nature and kind of have that dichotomy of urban nature going back and forth, and how easy it is to do that here. You're not, because it's such a small but dense urban city, it's also really easy to get out and then come back in. Going back to the professional emphasis that we have, we're all about making those connections outside of CCA as well. We have a lot of industry partnerships. All of the internships that you could take through CCA are going to be paid for as well. A lot of visiting artists, professionals, a lot of them are also connected to our professional instructors also, and they love to bring their colleagues in. For example, animation being our most popular major is going to be an animator, probably working at Pixar nearby. They're going to bring their artists from Pixar to come over and talk to you. We have a lot of visiting employees. These are just a few of them, and you could see that they kind of are a wide spectrum of local small studios to really large companies such as Adobe, which is actually right next door to us, Crate and Barrel, Lexus, Microsoft. Being in San Francisco, we're such a hub for those big tech companies as well, Lucasfilms, Google, Amazon, all of that, that we have a lot of relationships, and a lot of students do go to those for employment and for internships. So a little bit about launching your life's work. An art degree is super, super versatile. There's so many different avenues that you could go into, and you're not going to be stuck just, learning painting and drawing in the studio, or just graphic design. Like, because we emphasize the interdisciplinary and the professional, your possibilities really are kind of a lot wider and endless. So of course you could still be that artist or the art teacher or the curator, but a lot of our alums have gone on to become CEOs. Ray Cerna, for example, who is an alum from a few years ago, went off to New York to start her own fashion line called Riot NYC. Architect, graphic designer, honestly, the list goes on and on. As of our most recent graduates, 83% of them were employed within 12 months of graduation, already making over 60,000 annual salary, which is a really great stat, especially for living in the Bay Area. Here are some of our recent internships that our students are currently in, actually. Some of our programs, mostly the STEM designated and design programs, actually require our students to take a paid internship during their junior year, which is great. You honestly can't even, you actually can't even graduate unless you take a paid internship and you start making those connections outside of CCA. And a lot of those times, those internships lead to employment. Every spring, we also have a career expo where we are visited by a really large slew of employers to talk to our students. Last spring, we had over 200 employers combined, just set up booths and talk directly to them, to talk to them about what kind of careers in whatever art medium that they're in is possible for them. And, for example, in 2021, just a couple years ago, Nike was part of this group, and we all know who Nike is. They didn't really need to introduce themselves. So on their booth, instead of having like a bunch of pamphlets and information, they just started interviewing students for summer internships, which is really neat. So getting into like the sort of more technical nitty gritty stuff, applying to CCA is actually a really simple process. It's rather straightforward. It's just an application, either directly through us or the Common App, a personal essay, just 250 to 500 words. It's not long, just about a page of why CCA is the right fit for you, what kind of art and goals you have with your art, and how you kind of align with our values of innovation, community engagement, and sustainability, for example. But really show us your passion. What are you, introduce yourself to us in a visual, in your own words, and what is it about art making that gets you really excited and passionate to continue studying? Your official transcripts, of course, one letter of recommendation, proof of English proficiency for international applicants, and a portfolio of 10 to 15 pieces. The portfolio, similar to the essay where we want you to introduce yourself in your own words, for the portfolio, we want you to introduce yourself in a visual way. So we want to see what's most important to you, your passion projects. You're going to be applying to the school, not to your program. So that way it's not actually major specific and we don't have any strict regulations or prompts. So no, like you have to turn in 3 figure studies or 3 still lifes or anything like that. We would rather actually you show us the things that you do in your sketchbook, things that you do outside of class, things that really tell us who you are and what get you excited. Also, don't be afraid to experiment. Again, we're very interdisciplinary. So try out different mediums that you may not be so comfortable with or you don't have a lot of experience in, and see how you could incorporate that. Have a lot of fun, have a lot of play, and be super weird. Best advice I ever got in art school. So again, experiment, innovate, and also document your work really well. You'll notice here in these images, these are all student work, that they are all nicely cropped. We didn't crop these themselves. These are the actual pieces. They're nicely cropped in. There's no rings of the sketchbook. They're not like at a weird angle and the lighting is nice. It really takes your pieces and your portfolio a long way, going from that not so well documented look to a more professional presentation. It doesn't require much. Most of us have strong enough phones with camera phones that you could, on a nice like overcast day or maybe in nice lighting, you could just take a picture of it straight on and then crop it in. We also have a great page on our website for tips and advice on portfolio. Our link is down here at the bottom right in the QR code, but I could also drop it in the chat later on. For our international students as well, we have our ISAP office, the International Student Affairs and Programs team, that is here to help you specifically. They're there for support, for any resources that you need, things like that. So counseling and academic coaching, advising on maintaining your status, peer support, and all of that. Here are English language requirements. So the TOEFL, the IELTS, Duolingo on your app, we also accept, and the scores are minimum scores. And then this will be like my last section. Our types of financial aid for international students are going to be our scholarships and campus jobs. So by simply applying, you'll automatically be eligible for merit scholarship, where you could be awarded up to $25,000. And that's renewable every single year. They'll be taken right out of your tuition. And that's based on the holistic review of your entire application. You're also welcome to work on campus as well through our institutional work study, where you could work up to 20 hours per week in any department. Here's a little bit more stats on that. And finally, our next steps. So for our fall, the main one that I want you to take a look at is this February 1st deadline. This is our first year fall priority deadline for all scholarship consideration for our first years. And thank you so much. Here is our international admissions email. Feel free to also WeChat or call us, email us, set up an appointment with us. We're always happy to help and talk to you as well. Again, my name is Francis Klimlim. I'm an admissions counselor here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis Kalimlim, for that very comprehensive and captivating presentation. So
Oh,
now
thank
we
you.
will be opening the floor to the Q&A. So if any of you have any questions, feel free to send it to the chat box addressed to everyone. Or if you prefer, you can just send it directly to me and I can read out the question. Thank you so much. And I'll also be sending the interest forms in the chat. So feel free to fill out the form so that CCA can reach out to you in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I'll also start dropping some links in the chat as well. Here's that email if you want to reach us. If you want to book an appointment, this also goes for having a portfolio review one-on-one with either myself or another counselor over Zoom. You're more than welcome to do that, or to get any additional information from us as well. And here's our portfolio page. Also a great link, as well as our undergraduate program. So you could get even more information about all of our different programs here. But yeah, open to questions. I also understand Tagalog, so it's okay. Like, if you want to ask it in Tagalog, that's totally fine. I'm here for it. I got my accent went away, and my Tagalog is a little broken now, but it always comes back whenever I go back home to the Philippines.
Oh, are you a Filipino po?
Yeah. My parents live there in Manila. I grew up in Cubao.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, because of that, they send me to the Philippines also to talk to other schools and students every year. I was just there last fall, so it's nice because I get to go back home and also see my parents while also getting to work and talk to other Filipino students. So yeah, and also San Francisco is right above Daly City, which has the largest concentration of Filipino Americans in the United States as well. So we have a really big, another reason why I wanted to go to the Bay too is to feel a little closer to home.
Thank you so much. Oh, which high schools have you visited in the Philippines? Like, have given talks?
Yeah, so I've been to Reedley, International School of Manila, Beacon, and Brent so far, last spring.
Oh, so mostly international schools, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, but we're also like looking to expand our range and things like that. I was very limited on time. Unfortunately, I was only there for like a week, which is not enough, especially with the traffic of Manila. So
Yeah, it's very traffic.
yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
does it?
Yes. Oh, you may continue first, yes.
Oh, I just wanted to ask if anyone has any questions about anything about CCA and or things like that.
Oh, yes.
I'm
So
also just happy to chat also, but
yeah, someone has a question. So
okay.
they're asking if there are any on-campus jobs available for international students.
Absolutely. So um all jobs on campus are available to all students regardless of whether you're a domestic student or an international student. Um and you will get paid exactly the same as well in the form of a paycheck. So you know, there's I believe this fall we already saw the job listing. There's over 400 positions, which is great. And it, in a lot of different departments as well. You could be a teacher's assistant, you could work in the admissions team, just like us. We have a lot of great student ambassadors that help us with like tours and making graphics for us and things like that, little projects. You could work to be a studio assistant, so you could work in like the wood shop, the tool shop, things like that. My personal advice: be a teacher's assistant, you get to have like an extra class without the pressure of having to do all the homework and take all the assignments, and you get a closer working relationship with that instructor as well, especially if it's a class that you just like really want to kind of have the insider on, but maybe you don't have the um like space on your schedule. So it's a real, when I was in art school, that was something that I always tried to do like once a year, is be a teacher's assistant. um we do, for all of our students as well who decide to work on campus, we do have a cap of 20 hours per week for students to work. This is so that it doesn't get in the way of their studies.
Thank you for sharing. So for our
Mhm.
second question, someone is asking if CCA offers full scholarships.
Yeah, that's a great question. So unfortunately, we don't have like full ride scholarships or anything like that. We are a nonprofit organization, so that comes with a lot of really great benefits. For one, our funding isn't reliant on just student tuition alone. Um, and because of that, we are federally funded. So that way, even though our tuition is rather high, our our academic year's tuition right now is 57K. Um, our merit scholarship, the cap you could be awarded is $25,000, and that's every single year. So that almost pretty much cuts it in half. There are also um, other need-based scholarships, departmental scholarships, depending on their budget, depending on the strength of your portfolio and your application. But we could also uh, uh, give support to additionally. Um, I've seen some international students get almost up to 80% of their tuition covered, which is really great. But again, that really depends on the strength of your application and your portfolio too. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be. I wish I could guarantee it all for everybody. But again, that's where the focus on really working hard on your portfolio and your essay and your application really comes into, and your grades, of course. That's where that holistic review of your application really comes from. As someone who reads and admits students myself, we really try to get the full picture, the full story of every single student and their application. So give us as much information about us as you can that you want us to know and you're comfortable with sharing. You know, I look at transcripts and be like, oh, this person isn't really a math person, and that's totally fine. That's probably why you want to come to art school too. I'm not a math person, but your portfolio is stellar. Yeah, of course, come on in, and once we see that passion and that drive in there, that's where we start, plugging in the numbers for all of that consideration. So yeah, while we don't have any free rides, unfortunately, we do try to give as much support as we can. Being a nonprofit definitely aids in that as well, because we could give a lot back to our students.
Thank you so much. Regarding the portfolio, how do you think can students make their portfolio stand out?
Yeah, great question. So let me go back to that. This is going to be a little, you could see my sidebar, but that's okay. Um, so going back to this slide. So again, we really want to see you. That's what we really care about. And all of us who read our in the admissions team, we're all artists. So we know what we're looking at. What really sticks out to me is, again, like, how much of your personality and your work are you really letting shine? We're not looking for mastery. That's the whole reason why you're going to art school. You're going here to learn and to cultivate your skills and take it to the next level, while also having the time to focus on your craft. What we want to see in your portfolio is, how much are you really experimenting, trying to showcase yourself, really challenge your medium and challenge yourself to kind of think outside the box and take it to those new places. You only have 10 to 15 slides in there, so really make them count. I personally am less interested in like class assignments. Again, we don't have those prompts of like, show three figure studies, show a still life, landscape. If you could think about it this way, where if you give us like a still life of like a bowl of fruit, what is that bowl of fruit gonna tell us about you that you and 20 other students in that same class also had to draw, that a teacher prompted you to do? Probably not much, right? It proves to us that the that you could draw a bowl of fruit, which is great, but all of these passion projects that you're doing show us your technical skill already. And oftentimes with those personal projects, a lot better too, because they're only coming from you and you're pouring your heart and your effort into it. Don't try to prove your technical skills to us, because your projects will already do so. We also welcome a lot of different kinds of work also. It's not just all visual. You could give us film, video, animation, writing samples, poetry, flip through your sketchbook in like a video, things like that. Just make sure it's presented well and really showcases who you are as an artist.
Thank you so much for that insight. So we
Mhm.
actually have another question. Hello, I just want to ask if CCA is test optional.
Test optional. Um, in terms of what kind of test?
I'm not sure, but I think they're referring to the SAT.
Got it. Okay. And I just want to clarify because there's a lot of different tests. So we don't require the SAT or the ACC, which is great. Um, the only kind of testing that we really require for international students are the English proficiency exams. I'll go ahead and find that slide again so you can take a look. So these are English language requirements. The TOEFL, the IELTS, those are really popular ones. And then the Duolingo that you could just take on your phone as well. Um, and those are our scores. So yeah.
Regarding the English language requirement, do you think it can be waived if we're taking the IB or the AP,
Yep.
or if our mode of instruction in school is in English?
Those exact three things will automatically waive you out as well. As long as you pass your classes with a grade C or higher as well. Um, for like the AP class, for example, or if you are, in a fully English instruction um, language institution as well. So that will also waive the requirement.
All right, thank you so much. So
Mhm.
far, those are all the questions that I've received. So if you guys,
Awesome.
yes, yes. Oh, okay, we have one more question.
Great.
What is considered as an original artwork in our portfolio?
Ah, excellent, excellent question. So for those who are, and I'll actually keep it at this page so you could scan the QR code too. Um, Original artwork really just comes from you. So what that means is we want to try and avoid fan art, celebrity portraiture, things that already exist out in the world. It's definitely okay to be, of course, it's natural, of course, too, to be really inspired by them. Um, I grew up on anime. I grew up on, pop culture and things like that too. And a lot of my work, especially early on, were really inspired by them. But create your own characters, create your own universe that can be inspired by them. Just don't take their exact likeliness, at least not for the portfolio. There's definitely a legitimacy and a place in the world for fan art. It's a totally legitimate art form. But for the portfolio, because it is so focused on who you are as an artist, we want to see more original characters, original writing, music, things like that. Sorry, scratch the music part because some our film students, for example, will show like reels or music videos or animation. You're more than welcome to use the music in there or any other music, even if it's someone that you know personally. Just make sure that in the description you credit them. And that goes for pretty much any work. There's a description box there when you upload them into Slideroom. Just make sure that you give us a little description, a few sentences here and there about the work, and if it was a collaborative work, what was your part in it?
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I'll be sending the interest forms again in the chat box. If you haven't filled it out, please do so that CCA can reach out to you.
Great, yeah. And if you, I'll also put this booking link again here, and our email. So don't be shy to reach out to us, literally any question, big or small. We're always happy to help. And that email doesn't go to like a robot or anything. You won't get like an automated message. It goes straight to us. So just know that we're all human and that we've all been through this process, having gone through art schools ourselves. Also, some of the folks on my team are also international students. That's how we totally can understand a slew of different situations. And we're all here to help you and make it as smooth and easy as possible.
Thank you very much. We have another question. Does CCA
Awesome.
offer housing?
Yes. So going back to my earlier slide, where did it go? Here we go. So we do have housing available for our students. They are, this is our brand new Founders Hall that opened up in fall. It says 2020, but it actually opened up in 2021 because of the pandemic. But it was built in 2020, so everything is still really new. Our first and second year students are again required to live there. So it's not competitive. You don't have to worry about, applying at a certain time and in order to get housing. You will have housing. And they're like very, they're dormitory styles, pretty standard. And they're just right across the street from the main campus, which is super convenient.
Thank you so much. So those are all our questions so far.
Great.
We are down to the last 10 minutes. So if anyone has any follow-up questions, feel free to send them now. Thank you.
Even if it's like fun or weird questions about the school and like things like that. Some things that I didn't touch upon, I'll actually go up to this big info slide. I think that's a good place to kind of stay on. That's our main campus here right at the top. That's what it looks like. To the left is where the Founders Hall is. We're actually founded way back in 1907. So we have been in the Bay for quite a long time, over 100 years. So we have a really strong presence in the Bay too. We are currently the only major private art school located in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. So we really have a big eye and focus from other companies and studios where they want to try and find some art students for potential future employers.
Thank you so much for sharing that to us. Ooh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does CCA have any maybe less known like traditions?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, so amongst our student body, they have a lot of, even if you're not in a club, we're such a small bubble that they have a lot of little activities that they all do. So I know this has been going on for years. It's a tradition where they have karaoke nights. They have like karaoke Thursdays, and then they have waffle Wednesdays where they all come together and they just like make waffles in different shapes and stuff, which is really like very niche, but also like just really fun. Um, and then they have, and it's born from the illustration department. Every Friday, they have illustration day where and it's very internal, but it's open to anyone regardless of your major. They'll have an exclusive kind of like live model there that could, unlike outside of a regular life drawing class, like you could ask them to put, be in various costumes and like do, things like that and various poses for your fun little projects and set pieces, and then you just like kind of, it's almost like a class outside of class that's just really more of like a community building thing where you have fun. So they have drawing days. Artists and their friend, like our teachers' friends, would come over and talk to students, look at their work and things like that. Um, so that's always been like a really fun thing. I think and they'll do like little crafts too, like they'll learn how to make their own t-shirts or tie-dye or little jewelries, and things like that, or they'll have little competitions. The robotics club also did like a, yeah, they have like their own little internal contest, like alarm clock making or something like that, which would be really cool. um I wanted to buy one of them because it was in the shape of a chocobo from Final Fantasy, if you know that. Um, but like they weren't for sale, and I was like, oh, I really wanted it. I would have paid some money for that. But yeah, a lot of really small, but a wide range of activities that a lot of the students kind of come up themselves too.
All of those sound so interesting. But I feel like most Filipinos will be piqued with the karaoke sessions because in the
Oh
Philippines it's
yeah,
super prevalent, right? Yeah.
yeah. And we have the like unfair advantage in our genes just because it's like,
Yeah.
if it's not karaoke, it would have been pool, billiards, it would have been, all these things. um I unfortunately have not the best voice. I didn't get that genes, but I love watching my friends all karaoke. But yeah,
You I feel that.
my parents call it second voice, which is like fine.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, okay. We have another question. Do they provide any opportunities for the artists to sell their works if they want to?
Yes, great question. So going back to the kind of professional practices. So for example, illustration in comics, every year, while it's harder to imagine like what kind of internship like an illustration or a comic student can have, and they're kind of fewer than like interior design, for example, which is easier to imagine. um, we still make sure that those fine arts still get those professional practices while they're a student. And a lot of that comes in the form of pop-up shows, pop-up sales. Though we also work with the community in San Francisco itself, with the San Francisco Arts Commission, a lot of arts organizations, some of which I'm a part of, where we collaborate with a lot of different schools and students and art programs and just working artists in the city, to have booths, to have sales, to be able to showcase their work. But in school, in CCA, we specifically teach them how to have an online presence, how to market themselves, how to price their work, all of those things to be a working artist too, and put them into practice while they're a student. So every year we have a lot of those like showcases, things where you could I buy student work. We have a crafts fair as well, where it's a great time to like buy Christmas gifts early, and also help out students, but they go out into the city too. We have the San Francisco Book Fair, um, the comics convention, um, yeah, yeah, a lot of commission work for the painters, um, learning how to show your films in indie film screenings and festivals and things like that. So really, regardless of the major that you're in, you're going to be able to sell your work, show your work, get that exposure, be a working artist.
Thank you so much for addressing that question. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
it's super beneficial for artists to really get exposure, especially when they're just starting out. So I think
Absolutely, yeah.
CCA to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to try to like break that old, demystify the whole like starving artist thing. Like, no, like we want to make sure that not only are you able to survive as an artist, but you could thrive as an artist also.
Super, super that. Super, super love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
So we're down to the last 3 minutes. And so far, there are no more questions. So we can wait for maybe 30 more seconds. And if no one asks any more questions, we can wrap up the session.
Great. Yeah, keep them coming or email us. Again, big or small. No question is too out of left field or not worth asking. So
And for the last time, I'll be sending the interest forms just in case anyone hasn't filled it out. Okay, I think there are no more questions. So if that's the case, we'll be ending the session now. So once again, thank you so much, Mr. Francis Kalimlim, for your time and effort today. And we super, super appreciate all the insights that you gave us. And this for sure will encourage the art students to apply to CCA. Thank you so much.
thank you so much as well for having me and for hosting this. I'm so sorry about my connectivity
Oh,
issues.
no,
I'm
it's
sorry
okay.
for being
Don't
late,
worry.
but I'm so happy I made it. And you all asked a lot of great questions. I'm always very happy about that. So yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Send us an email and hopefully talk to you soon. All
Thank you
right,
so much.
salamat, ingat.
Ingat po. And good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. Yes, so I'll be stopping the recording